Have you ever met someone who seems calm on the outside, but deep inside, they're fighting a constant battle you can't see? Someone who gives everything their best, yet always feels it's not enough? Maybe that someone is you. Or maybe it's the Virgo quietly standing beside you. Here's a truth no one tells you: Virgo is not just the perfectionist of the zodiac. Behind their quiet smile and steady hands hides a heart that carries invisible pressure. Pressure to be flawless. Pressure to never let anyone down. And yet, they'll never show it. Because Virgo's love is silent. Their strength? Hidden. Their pain? Locked deep inside. But why? Why does Virgo push themselves so hard and love so quietly? Today, we're going deep inside Virgo's mind and heart. We'll uncover the secret emotions that drive their actions, and the quiet wisdom they carry like a hidden treasure. This is not just about astrology. It's about understanding the soul of Virgo, in ways even Virgos might not realize. So, if you're ready to see Virgo like never before, stay with me until the very end. And hey, if this topic speaks to your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Let's help more people understand the quiet warriors around them. Now, let's begin. Have you ever noticed how some people seem obsessed with getting every little detail perfect, but it's not about showing off? It's something deeper. Something personal. That's Virgo. They're not chasing praise. They're chasing peace. For Virgo, perfection isn't a performance. It's protection. Each time they fix a mistake no one else even saw, they're calming something inside themselves. That's why they tidy the kitchen late at night. That's why they'll recheck the same report again and again when everyone else is asleep. To them, order in the outside world creates order in their mind. Chaos around them feels like chaos within. Maybe you've seen that in someone you love. Or maybe you've felt it yourself. But here's the secret most people don't realize. Virgo doesn't work so hard because they love perfection. They work so hard because they fear failure. Not for themselves, but for others. Imagine carrying the constant weight of not wanting to disappoint anyone. That's Virgo's silent burden. They're terrified of letting down their family, their partner, their colleagues. So, they push themselves to impossible standards, not out of ego, but out of love. And because of that, they rarely ask for help. Instead, they carry their anxiety like a quiet secret. I once spoke to a woman named Mia, a typical Virgo. She told me, every time someone said, "Don't worry, it's good enough," she felt like crying inside. Because to her, good enough means I didn't care enough. Her standards aren't harshness, they're love in disguise. But there's a danger to this inner pressure. When Virgo's standards become too high, they begin to tie their self-worth to their achievements. If they don't reach their goal, they feel like they're not enough. And that's a wound that cuts deep. It's easy for them to forget that they're valuable, even when imperfect. That's why, if you're a Virgo listening now, I want you to remember this: you are not your mistakes. You are not defined by what you produce. Sometimes, your presence, your loyalty, your quiet kindness are already enough. Still, Virgo keeps moving. Keeps organizing. Keeps refining. Why? Because behind their obsession with perfection lies a simple emotional truth: when they can't control their feelings, they control their surroundings. Think about that. A cluttered desk. A messy room, it's not just a mess to Virgo. It's emotional noise. Cleaning, arranging, fixing, these are not chores to them. They're therapy. Maybe that's why so many Virgos love making lists. Writing schedules. Planning meals. Not because they enjoy being rigid, but because each task crossed off gives them a tiny breath of peace. If you've ever watched a Virgo replan their day after just one change, it's not stubbornness. It's their way of holding on to stability, in a world that often feels unpredictable. But their exhaustion? That's real. And often invisible. You might see Virgo moving through their day like everything's under control. But inside, they're tired. Not just physically. Emotionally. Keeping everything perfect drains their energy. But they'll rarely admit it. They'll push through, believing that rest is a reward they haven't earned yet. I've met Virgos who feel guilty taking a break. As if resting means failing. And that's heartbreaking. So if you're close to a Virgo, pay attention. When they say, "I'm fine," ask again. When they finish one task, encourage them to pause before starting the next. Remind them, rest isn't a weakness. It's a necessity. And if you are a Virgo, hear me now. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. Let yourself pause. Breathe. Your worth doesn't disappear when you stop working. What's even more complex is Virgo's compassion. On the surface, it might feel like they're criticizing you, pointing out mistakes, being overly careful. But inside, they're simply trying to protect you from the disappointment they fear themselves. When a Virgo corrects you, it's not to hurt you. It's their way of saying, "I care too much to let you fail." I remember a story from Daniel, a Virgo father. He told me how hard it was not to correct every little thing his son did wrong. Not because he wanted control, but because he wanted to shield his child from hurt. That's Virgo's love language. It's not flowers and grand speeches. It's small corrections. Quiet advice. Late-night problem solving. To Virgo, love is shown in fixing what's broken, even before anyone else notices the crack. But here's what many Virgos struggle to understand: people don't always need solutions. Sometimes, they just need presence. A listening ear. A quiet hug. Virgo's natural instinct is to solve, but sometimes, love means simply being there. So, to every Virgo watching this, remember: not everything needs to be fixed. Sometimes, being present is the solution itself. In the end, Virgo's perfectionism isn't just about neat desks and planned schedules. It's about emotions. It's about fear. It's about love. Every corrected sentence. Every organized drawer. Every carefully crafted project, all of it is Virgo's way of saying, "I care." And if you've ever wondered why Virgo works so hard, loves so quietly, and rests so little, now you know. Beneath the surface of perfection is a heart that just wants peace. A soul that just wants to be enough. And a mind that only finds calm when the world around them feels in order. So, the next time you see a Virgo meticulously checking every detail, pause. Look beyond their actions. And you'll see someone silently loving the world around them, the only way they know how. Have you ever wondered why Virgo always seems to have everything under control? Why they wake up early, stick to their plans, and get things done, even when no one is watching? It's not just about responsibility. It's about something much deeper. Virgo's discipline isn't a habit they learned. It's a sacred force inside them. A quiet energy that keeps them going when their heart feels heavy. When emotions become too loud. When life feels uncertain. Virgo turns to structure. Because their routines are their lifeline. Think of a Virgo you know. Maybe it's a friend. A partner. Or maybe it's you. How many mornings have they followed the same routine? How many nights have they stayed up organizing, planning, preparing? Not because anyone told them to. But because, deep down, it's how they hold themselves together. That silent discipline is their way of staying grounded. But here's something few people realize. Virgo doesn't see their discipline as strength. To them, it's simply survival. It's what they do to feel safe in a world that often feels overwhelming. Every checklist, every scheduled task, every disciplined choice is their way of creating calm in the storm. And what about the way Virgo corrects you? At first, it might feel like they're criticizing. pointing out what you did wrong. But if you listen closely, behind their words is a quiet kind of care. When Virgo notices a mistake, it's not to make you feel small. It's their heart saying, I want you to succeed. Their so-called critique is compassion wearing the mask of logic. I remember meeting Ethan, a Virgo teacher. He told me how he would spend hours after class rewriting his lesson plans. Not because his students complained, but because he cared too much to settle for good enough. And when his students didn't meet his expectations, he felt it like a personal failure. Not for himself, but because he believed they deserved better. Virgo doesn't correct because they judge you. They correct because they love you. But that love, it's quiet. Virgo doesn't shout their affection. They don't post it on social media. They show it by showing up. By fixing problems before you notice them. By being the one who stays late to help when everyone else goes home. Their compassion is practical. It's solution-focused. And sometimes, people misunderstand that. They see Virgo's advice as control. When in truth, it's their heart speaking the only way it knows how. And then, there's the way Virgo loves to serve. Not for praise. Not for attention. But because helping others is written into their soul. Watch a Virgo when someone needs help. They won't ask, what do I get in return? They simply help. Quietly. Efficiently. Humbly. They'll hold your hand through heartbreak. They'll clean the house when you're too tired. They'll rewrite your resume without you asking. Because serving gives them purpose. But here's the secret pain of Virgo's service, they rarely feel seen. People often accept their help, but forget to say thank you. Not because they don't care, but because Virgo makes it look so effortless. So natural. But inside, Virgo carries a quiet hope that anyone, will notice how much they give. So, if you're close to a Virgo, do this. Say thank you. Not just for the big things. Thank them when they fix something you didn't even know was broken. Thank them when they show up. Again and again, without being asked. Those words might seem small to you, but to Virgo, they'll feel like sunlight after a long winter. I remember Sarah, a Virgo mother of 3. She told me, the first time her teenage son said, "Thanks, Mom, for always making dinner," she cried in the kitchen. Not because the meal was hard to cook. But because, for once, her service was seen. That's Virgo's heart. Humble. Steady. Always giving. And always hoping for quiet recognition. Now, let's talk about their healing energy. You might not notice it at first. Virgo isn't the person who gives long speeches or dramatic hugs. But when you're near them, you'll feel it. A quiet sense of safety. A calm presence. The feeling that, somehow, everything will be okay. That's not coincidence. That's Virgo's silent gift. They listen, even when you think they're not. They watch, even when you think they're busy. And when you're breaking down. Virgo won't overwhelm you with advice. They'll sit beside you. They'll offer a simple solution. Or maybe just their presence. And somehow, your heart feels lighter. I once sat with Leo, a Virgo nurse. She told me how patients often opened up to her, without her saying a word. Because her calmness, her steady hands, her quiet presence, made people feel safe. That's Virgo's healing power. It's not loud. It's not flashy. But it works. And people keep coming back for it. But this healing gift, it's not just for others. Virgo instinctively senses when their own body, mind, or spirit is out of balance. They notice the small changes. The sudden fatigue. The quiet sadness. They listen to their body like it's an old friend. They know when to rest, when to cleanse, when to retreat. This connection between their physical health and emotional state is something most signs don't understand. To Virgo, health isn't just a goal. It's a form of love. A form of respect for the life they've been given. But there's a danger here too. Virgo can become overly focused on fixing themselves. Constantly searching for what's wrong. Obsessing over every ache, every emotion, every imbalance. And in that search for healing, they sometimes forget they're already whole. So, if you're a Virgo, remember this. Healing isn't a checklist. It's not a problem to solve. It's a journey. A slow, gentle unfolding. Trust yourself. But also, forgive yourself. Your worth isn't measured by your ability to feel perfect. And now, pause for a moment. Because everything we've explored so far, Virgo's discipline, their corrections, their service, and their healing energy, all lead to a truth deeper than most imagine. But the real question is, why do they hide their wisdom? Why do they choose silence over speaking? Why does their loyalty often become their heaviest burden? The answers are more profound, more emotional, and perhaps more controversial than you expect. In the next part, we'll uncover the quiet wisdom, the hidden struggles, and the inner battles of Virgo's soul. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Have you ever noticed how Virgo listens more than they speak? How they observe every detail but choose silence over opinions. People often mistake that silence for shyness or indifference. But the truth is much deeper. Virgo's wisdom isn't loud because it doesn't need to be. Inside every Virgo is a quiet thinker. A mind that doesn't rush. A heart that waits before speaking. Virgo doesn't fill the room with noise. They fill it with calm. They watch. They process. And when they finally speak, every word carries weight. It's not about being right. It's about being helpful. Because Virgo speaks to heal. To solve. To bring peace. Not to compete. I remember a friend named Anna. A typical Virgo. In every meeting, she'd sit quietly while others argued. People thought she didn't care. But after the noise faded, she would say one simple sentence. And suddenly, everyone saw the solution. That's Virgo's quiet wisdom. They don't speak to be heard. They speak when it matters. But what's behind this silence? It's not just thoughtfulness. It's protection. Virgo knows that words carry power. They've seen how carelessness can hurt. So they choose their words like an artist chooses colors. Deliberate. Careful. Respectful. And yet, Virgo's heart is often divided. Between what they feel and what their mind tells them is logical. Between emotion and analysis. Between compassion and caution. This inner battle shapes their every choice. It's why they hesitate before sharing their feelings. It's why they analyze their own emotions like puzzles to be solved. Virgo wants to trust their heart. But their mind whispers warnings. Think carefully. Don't rush. What if you're wrong? And so, they hold back. They stay silent. They choose control over vulnerability. Because being vulnerable feels like losing balance. But here's the truth Virgo needs to hear. Your emotions are not problems. They're not errors in your system. They're your soul asking to be understood. You don't have to solve every feeling. Sometimes, it's okay just to feel. This inner struggle isn't weakness. It's depth. It's what makes Virgo so thoughtful, so kind, so precise. But learning to let their heart speak, even when it feels risky, that's where Virgo finds real freedom. And while Virgo is busy analyzing themselves, they're also guiding others. But not in the way you might expect. Virgo doesn't lead with speeches or commands. They lead by example. By presence. People follow Virgo, not because they're loud, but because they're steady. Because when Virgo moves, others trust them. Think about it. When life feels chaotic, Who do people turn to? The loudest person? Or the one who stays calm? That's Virgo. They lead by being consistent, by being clear, by being the person who quietly solves problems when everyone else panics. I met Daniel, a Virgo project manager. He told me something powerful. He said, "I don't tell my team what to do. I just do the work. And eventually, they follow." That's Virgo's silent leadership. No ego. No control. Just quiet example. But here's where Virgo's gift becomes a challenge. Because their leadership is so subtle, people often don't realize how much Virgo carries. Responsibilities pile up. Tasks get handed to them. And because Virgo never complains, they get taken for granted. So if you're working with a Virgo, remember to share the load. Notice when they're overwhelmed. And if you are a Virgo, remember this: leading doesn't mean carrying everything alone. It's okay to ask for help. Your worth isn't tied to how much weight you can bear. And now, let's explore something sacred to Virgo: their solitude. Have you ever wondered why Virgo disappears sometimes? Why they cancel plans? Or retreat into their quiet world? It's not rejection. It's restoration. For Virgo, solitude is not loneliness. It's sanctuary. When the world becomes too loud, when their mind overthinks, when emotions overwhelm them, Virgo returns to themselves. To silence. To simple rituals. To their own space. In that quiet, they heal. They listen to their heart. They remember who they are. I remember Leo, a Virgo writer. She said her best ideas came during her quiet walks alone. Not when she was searching for answers, but when she was simply being. That's Virgo's strength. Solitude isn't their escape. It's their source of power. But sometimes, people misunderstand. They think Virgo is avoiding them, or being distant. In truth, Virgo retreats not to abandon, but to recharge. So if a Virgo you love goes silent, don't chase them. Let them breathe. Let them be. And trust, they'll return when they're ready. And Virgo, hear this. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to need space. Solitude doesn't make you cold. It makes you whole. Now, as we approach the final part of this journey, remember what we've uncovered. Virgo's silence is wisdom. Their hesitations are protection. Their leadership is presence. And their solitude is sacred. But there's more. In the last part of this video, we'll unlock the 3 deepest truths about Virgo. Insights that reveal their hidden pain, their quiet strength, and perhaps their greatest emotional battle of all. What comes next might change the way you see Virgo forever. There's something rare about Virgo. A kind of modesty you don't see often anymore. In a world that rewards people for shouting their successes, Virgo stays quiet. Even when they achieve something incredible, they don't feel the need to tell the world. They simply do what needs to be done and move on. Their confidence is quiet. Their pride is silent. And that's what makes it powerful. I remember a conversation with Emma, a Virgo artist. She once said, "I don't create for praise. I create because I can't not create." That's the heart of Virgo's modesty. They aren't driven by applause. They're driven by purpose. They're not trying to impress. They're trying to contribute. But here's what many people miss. Virgo's humility isn't insecurity. It's wisdom. They understand something many don't. That true value doesn't need to prove itself. That the most beautiful things in life often speak softly. And Virgo chooses to be one of them. But this sincere modesty can become a challenge. Because when Virgo's work is ignored, when their loyalty is taken for granted, they don't complain. They stay silent. But inside, it hurts. Because even the most humble heart longs to feel seen. So, if there's a Virgo in your life, notice them. Appreciate the little things they do. Thank them, not just for their achievements, but for who they are. And if you are a Virgo, know this. You don't need to hide your light to prove your worth. It's okay to be proud of what you've built. Modesty is beautiful, but celebrating yourself is not arrogance. It's self-respect. Now, let's talk about something even deeper. Something almost invisible. Virgo's healing energy. Have you ever sat next to someone and felt safe, even without them saying a word? That's Virgo. Their presence calms the room. Their silence feels like understanding. People feel drawn to them. Not because of what they say, but because of how they make others feel. And most of the time, Virgo doesn't even realize they're doing it. I once heard a story from Noah, a Virgo nurse. He told me how patients felt calmer just having him nearby. He didn't offer big speeches or emotional support talks. He just stayed close. Steady. Calm. And that alone was enough to help people breathe easier. That's the power Virgo carries. Healing through presence. Through consistency. Through gentle care that doesn't ask for thanks. But what's the cost of this gift? Virgo gives and gives. And rarely receives. Because people assume Virgo is strong enough to handle anything. But inside, they're often tired. They're often carrying everyone's pain. And no one notices. So here's my advice. If you love a Virgo, don't just take their calmness as strength. Check on them. Ask how they're really feeling. Because even healers need healing too. And Virgo, let me speak to your heart. You don't need to heal everyone. You don't need to carry every burden. You deserve to rest. To be cared for. You are allowed to step back and let someone else carry you for a while. Now, let's shift to something that defines Virgo in a way most people overlook. Their work ethic. Virgo doesn't wait for motivation. They don't sit around hoping to be inspired. They show up. Every single day. Whether they feel like it or not. Because to them, work isn't just about achievement. It's about purpose. It's about integrity. It's about doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Think of someone you know who never gives up. Who keeps pushing. Who stays late. Who quietly finishes what others leave undone. There's a good chance that person is a Virgo. I remember Michael, a Virgo chef. He once told me, I'm not the most talented in the kitchen. But I'm the most consistent. And that consistency, that devotion to showing up, that's what makes Virgo great. Not grand gestures. Not sudden bursts of effort. But steady, honest work. But again, there's a hidden cost. Virgo's work ethic can become their prison. They push so hard, they forget to rest. They believe that stopping equals failing. And so, burnout creeps in, silently. If you're a Virgo listening now, remember this: rest is not laziness. It's discipline. It's how you protect your long-term strength. You don't need to prove your worth through exhaustion. You are enough, even when you rest. And now, the final part of this section. Something that defines Virgo's spirit more than most people realize. Their love of learning. Virgo is endlessly curious. Not for attention. Not for praise. But because learning feeds their soul. They don't just want to know. They want to understand. To master. To refine. Every book they read. Every skill they study. Every question they ask is part of a sacred journey. A journey of becoming. I met Olivia, a Virgo engineer. She told me, I never feel done. Every answer opens a new question. And that's what excites me. That's Virgo's mind. Always searching. Always growing. always believing that improvement is the point of life. But here's the part Virgo often forgets. Growth isn't just external. It's not just skills and knowledge. It's emotional too. It's spiritual. And sometimes, the most important lesson is learning how to rest. How to forgive. How to be imperfect and still feel worthy. So if you're a Virgo, hear this. Your love of learning is sacred. But don't just seek facts. Seek understanding. Seek peace. Seek yourself. And now, as we stand near the end of this journey, the real question begins. Why does Virgo carry so much, yet speak so little? Why do they solve everyone's problems, but rarely share their own? In the final part of this video, we will uncover the 3 deepest truths about Virgo. Insights that might reveal their greatest fear, their strongest emotional battle, and perhaps the most misunderstood part of their soul. The final chapter will change everything. Virgo's mind is like a quiet machine, working in the background, sorting ideas, organizing thoughts, bringing order to confusion. While other people feel overwhelmed, Virgo stays calm. Not because life is easy for them, but because their mind was built to find structure. To find steps where others see only problems. Think about a moment when your life felt chaotic. Deadlines everywhere. Tasks piling up. Emotions running wild. That's the moment when Virgo shines. They see the mess. And their first thought isn't panic. It's, where do we begin? I met Ethan, a Virgo project manager. He once told me, when things feel impossible, I write a plan. Not because it solves everything, but because it gives me air to breathe. That's Virgo's organized mind. It's not about control. It's about survival. When the world feels too big, Virgo builds systems. And those systems become safety. But this gift can also be a trap. Because Virgo's mind never stops. Even in silence, their brain is solving, planning, preparing. It can be exhausting. So if you're a Virgo listening now, remember to pause. Not every moment needs a solution. Some moments simply need to be lived. Now, let's explore something most people never associate with Virgo. Creativity. Yes. Creativity. Quiet. Subtle. Precise. But deeply creative. Virgo's creativity doesn't scream for attention. It whispers. You see it in the details. In the way they arrange a room. In the way they choose their words. In how they solve a problem with elegance. Not noise. Virgo doesn't create for applause. They create for meaning. I once knew Lily, a Virgo graphic designer. She told me, people think I'm just organized. But every color I choose, every line I draw, it's an emotion I can't say out loud. That's the truth behind Virgo's art. Their creativity is their hidden language. A way of expressing what they feel but cannot explain. But Virgo's creative energy often stays invisible. Why? Because they don't see it as special. They think, this is just what works. They don't realize that their eye for balance, their taste for simplicity, their careful touches, are a form of quiet beauty. A beauty that heals. A beauty that brings calm into a chaotic world. So if you're a Virgo, let yourself create. Write. Paint. Build. Not to impress anyone, but because your soul needs to express itself. And to everyone else, when you see something beautifully simple, maybe a well-designed room, or a thoughtfully crafted sentence, remember, somewhere behind that is a Virgo who poured their quiet heart into it. And now, we've come to the end of this journey. You've seen Virgo's mind. Their heart. Their discipline. Their silence. You've discovered the reasons behind their perfectionism. Their quiet acts of service. Their hidden exhaustion. and their subtle love. So, what's the lesson here? Virgo teaches us something rare in today's world. That strength doesn't need to shout. That loyalty doesn't need to ask for praise. That healing can come from a calm presence. That love can be shown simply by showing up. Virgo is the quiet warrior, the silent healer, the hidden artist. They carry more than they show. They give more than they're thanked for. And they love more deeply than most people ever realize. So if you saw yourself in these words, or if you saw someone you love, remember this. It's okay to rest. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to celebrate the quiet beauty you bring to this world. If today's video spoke to your heart, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to understand the Virgo in their life. Or maybe, the Virgo inside themselves. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Because there's so much more to explore together. Stories of healing. Stories of the zodiac. Stories of the human soul. So stay with me. Because your next story might begin in the next video.